Good evening. I'm David Balshikot, and I'd like to welcome you to this third edition of The New Paradigm. Now, the presidential election is about a week away, and the campaign, of course, is focused on two men, Barack Obama and John McCain, both of whom want to be the next president of the United States of America. What I'd like to do for just a minute is look beyond the personalities and think about some fundamental philosophy. I myself am not going to vote either for or against either man. But I do find myself in the position of having to vote against a political philosophy that I do not feel is working. I was born and raised a conservative Republican. But that party, its fundamental concepts, and its goals have dramatically changed in the last 20 years. And I don't believe that it holds the key for America's future. Conservatism has become a philosophy of negative reinforcement. It has ignored the root causes of the problems that face us and has solely focused on attempting to ameliorate the symptoms. And it has accomplished very little. As one example, let's look at violent crime in America. The conservative approach is to pass tougher laws, hire more police, appoint stricter judges, and build more prisons. Now, the conservative mantra, as so frequently regurgitated by my buddy Lou, for example, is that you don't solve a problem by throwing money at it. But that's exactly what we're doing. Do you know how much money it costs to build and staff a prison, to incarcerate an individual for 10 or 20 years? Billions and billions of dollars. And we've been spending it, and it hasn't worked. The reason is conservatism ignores a very fundamental concept, that for a significant portion of the potentially miscreant population, incarceration is not a behavioral deterrent. It is a rite of passage. It's a risk of the job. And until we change that mindset, we will never have a significant impact on violent crime in this country. And there's only one way to change that subcultural perspective, and that is through education. Study after study after study has shown a distinct, inversely proportional relationship between the level of education that an individual receives and their propensity to commit violent crime. It's almost a sociological fact, but the conservatives ignore it. We need to dedicate resources to the poorest, struggling inner city school districts in this country. It is the only way that we will be able to achieve the potential of our society. The penultimate goal of our society should be to ensure that the poorest child in America has the finest education in the world. Another area in which conservative philosophy is failing us is the fight against terrorism. Now, for the conservative, the answer to the problem is to wage war. the way to end terrorism is to kill all the terrorists. But what the conservative doesn't seem to understand is that new terrorists are made every day. Just pretend for a moment that you are Mohammed Islam, and you wake up one morning in Beirut, you wave goodbye to the wife and kids, and you head off to work. Well, next thing you know, at lunchtime, you get a phone call telling you that an Israeli artillery shell has hit your apartment, and you need to come down to the morgue and pick up the Ziploc bag with the bloody shreds of your family inside of it. What are you going to do? I'll tell you exactly what you're going to do. You're going to toddle right on down to the Hezbollah offices and sign up. Because you want to strap some dynamite around your belly and go blow up Israeli women and children. The only way that we are ever going to defeat terrorism is by eliminating the fear and the frustration and the helplessness that are the genesis of terrorist activity. Now, you may think that that's an awful tall order, and if it could be done, we would have done it already. How do I propose to do it? I don't. What I propose is that we sit down and talk to the British and the Irish Protestants and the Irish Catholics. When was the last time we heard about a bomb blowing up in Belfast? The answer is we haven't, because they decided one day to sit down at a table without preconditions and find a way to live together. They realized that God doesn't want them to kill each other in His or her name anymore. The only way that we are going to end the terrorist threat is by sitting down, by talking, and by giving people the chance to determine their own future. Now, I don't have time in the YouTube scenario to go through all of the other ways in which conservatism is failing us. Energy policy, environmental policy, abortion, gay rights. The list is endless. But what I really hope is that during the course of the next week, anybody who sees this will look beyond the advertisements and the hype and the labels and the insults and the innuendos that pass between Senator McCain and Senator Obama. And you'll take a deeper and more fundamental look at the problems facing our country and facing the world. And I hope that what you will do is look at the philosophy, look at the ways to solve that problem. The way this country is going has been ineffective. And it is my opinion, and I've given it a great deal of thought, but I truly believe that conservatism is a philosophy that is no longer applicable in the 21st century, and it must be marginalized. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the few things that I had to say. And until my next episode of The New Paradigm, I wish you good night.